Here we're looking at a 2013 Chevrolet Aveo, and that of course is the letters A, V, E, O, Aveo. A Chevrolet Aveo 1.4 liter port fuel injected gasoline 4-cylinder with an automatic transmission. This has well over 200,000 kilometers. So it's been driven a long way. And this vehicle has been customized. I see that we have our custom rims. There's no curb rash to speak of. And of course we've done some modifications there to the dash and the center console. And I noticed that there at the battery I do have a high current cables and a high current fuse that were added on there for a custom stereo system. So apparently I've got a lot invested here in the entertainment system within this vehicle. Now Chevrolet apparently was trying to market their vehicles here in Thailand. Not a whole lot of success, because this is one of the very few, I think this is the only one here at this auto auction, and there are hundreds of cars here. I would venture to say almost 1,000, and out of 1,000 vehicles there's one Chevrolet. Okay, here we're looking at a 2000 vintage Chevrolet, and there are very, very few of these vehicles here in Thailand. Yes, Chevrolet was assembling vehicles here in Thailand, and this was one of their models that they were offering. This one is at the Bangkok Auto Auction. It's actually out in the yard, and I don't even see the schedule on it for the auction. So it is due to go up. Maybe it's this Tuesday. It is obviously a car is in somewhat rough condition. It has not been detailed on the inside. The interior is rather messy, and as we are looking out here at the engine compartment, it hasn't been assigned a grade. So the question is, does it run, does it drive, etc., etc. There are not too many of these vehicles, but here, let's just take a look at them. Now this vehicle is built for the Thai market. So obviously the steering wheel, accelerator, brake pedal are over here on the right hand side. Here we see the brake fluid reservoir for our master cylinder, and there we see the master cylinder and vacuum brake booster there tucked up there on the firewall. Now in the Thai market it's very important that you have air conditioning, but heater core is often absent from many vehicles in Thailand. Now why is that? Well, the temperature seldom drops below 80 degrees. So to actually require heat in a vehicle, especially in Bangkok, would just not be the case. But here we have our H block, and this is the high side and this is the low side AC lines, and of course they're coming around to the accumulator. And if we look down here, we see our low side fitting, and there it goes down to the AC compressor. Here we see the air conditioning high side fitting, and there we see the low side fitting. Now here we see this connection between the, I guess I'm going to call it the intermediate tubing, and then the hose and tubing going off to the compressor and to the AC condenser. And here we see the high side line coming from the air conditioner compressor, and there we see its low side suction line going to the compressor. Now this is a real straightforward 4-cylinder engine. It's a coil on plug, and I have port fuel injection. Deadhead rail, no return line, no pressure regulator. The pressure regulator is part of the fuel pump. Here's the fuel rail, and this is my fuel pressure test port. Here I see the throttle body. There's my intake manifold. We have, of course, the servo motor style throttle blade, which is very common, just pretty much universal on all our vehicles now. I can't even say late model. And of course a plastic intake manifold is very common. One thing that's nice about a gasoline engine is I oftentimes have a good source of intake manifold vacuum. So I can depend on the engine to provide an intake manifold vacuum source. Sometimes I'll see an electric vacuum pump, but not in this case. Here I see my vacuum check valve, and there we're going right there to a port on the intake manifold. Here we see our electronic control module here that's going to control the shift point of the automatic transmission and of course control our engine functions, and of course the batteries in the engine compartment with my fuse relay center. Here's my windshield washer fluid reservoir, power steering fluid reservoir, and I have a pressurized coolant bottle. And this is nice, we have the air bleed coming up, so I'm not going to have any problem there bleeding air from the system. Now this is a nice little package, but apparently General Motors just was not capable of competing against Toyota and Nissan and Honda. So like I say, I think this is the only one at the auction, and we don't see very many of them. All right, now as we can see, the owner of this vehicle has done some serious customization. There I have a series of 3 gauges. They're stuck to the lower windshield, and I believe, of course, my TAC and my instrument cluster right here are original equipment. This may be original equipment or maybe aftermarket, I'm not sure. Seems like this is a lot of trouble to go through for a basic, inexpensive vehicle. The dashboard looks to be in pretty good shape, but the car is very dirty. It has not been cleaned, it has not been detailed. And again, sending this to the auction, the person who's going to potentially bid on it is going to look at it. And this is a real turnoff if the vehicle is dirty. Now I see considerable wear on the shifter, and there's considerable wear there on the steering wheel. And this is part of the factory steering wheel. This is not a cover, this is actually the steering wheel. So certainly if the vehicle runs properly and the transmission shifts smoothly, it could be a serviceable vehicle, but here going to the auction, oftentimes there's a situation where there's something wrong with the vehicle, and wherever it's coming from, they'd like to just pass it through the auction and say goodbye.